Hello everyone, today I'm going to share with you how to find out the salary increase and the incentive targets with Solver, but with macro loops. So as a recap, in my previous videos, I have shared with you the difference between Goal Seeker and Solver, and I've also shared with you how to create a solver, a single solver with Excel VBA. So today is like a one step further advanced, which is what if you want to use VBA, multiple VBAs within one spreadsheet, and that is where we can utilize the loop function within macro. Okay, so now let's set up the scenario here. So I have an employee data set, and for each employee, I have their old base salary. I have their both old incentive targets, which I can calculate the total cash. And then I have their proposed new base salary increase, which is one variable that we're going to use for this solver. The salary increase is essentially the base salary times the new incentive the new base salary increase percent, which you can use to get your new base salary. And then I'm also setting up the new incentive percent as another variable that we're going to use, and then together with all those information we can calculate the new base total cash, which is base salary plus base salary times the new incentive. And then with that, we can calculate the increase in total cash, which is the new total cash minus the old total cash. And then this is the increase for total cash. And then let's assume that for this bucket of people, for each individual, we have a certain budget set up for them, which means that, for example, for this person, we can use up to $5,000 for both their base salary increase and their incentive, target incentive. And then I also have a column called gap, which is essentially the difference between the max budget and the actual increase in total cash. So my objective here is that this is a budget, like everything in this column is the budget, the max budget you can use for that individual. And I want this number to be as close as it can be to the total cash. But I don't want my actual increase to the total cash to be over the budget, which means that, for example, for this person, I can say I want to allocate 5% salary increase and 5% incentive target. That gives me a total increase in cash of 1,600 around, and it's within the budget, which is fine. But then let's say if I want to give 20% as the incentive target and 20% for the base salary increase, now you see I'm spending more than what my budget allows, and the gap is negative, and I cannot allow that to happen. So I essentially need to create a macro that loops for each individual and then satisfy the budget restraints for us. And to make it a little bit more complicated, I have also set up two additional criteria here, which is my base salary increase percent cannot be over 10%, and my incentive target here can also not be greater than 10%, and maybe that's because I want to keep I don't want to give people too much increase for 1 year, or I have some internal equity issue that I have to take into consideration. But then basically I want to cap out my increase percent there. So with all the information here, I have created the macro code for to solve this problem. So let's take the first person, for example, and then let's look at how the solver helps us to solve the problem. So with a loop function, the first thing you need to do is always to set up, define a number, maybe I, maybe x, as an integer. And then you need to define the range for the loop to go. So in our case, it's row 20 to 29. So that's why I'm setting up my loop to be for I equals 20 to 29. And then always note that you need to have the next I at the end of the loop. So Excel knows that it's going to loop until it hits 29. So within the loop function, this is actually the core part of the solver that we set up. The first thing you need to put in here is SolverReset, which means that after you did the first solver, when it looped for the second one, you need to reset your previous solver and then make everything basically starting all over again. And then the next part is actually quite similar to what we did for the single solver, which is, for example, the SolverOk, and then we want to set cell MI, which is, you see, like this cell, which is the gap between your actual spend and your budget. We want this to be 2, which is actually minimum. If you want to know more about this part, you can check out my video on how to create solver with VBA for data modeling. I explain it further there. And then we want to change it. We want to realize that by change cell FI and II, which is essentially those two. And also note that because we're referring to a row that we don't know which number, so you need to make sure for the first part of the cell, you have the double quote beside it, and then you have the and then you have the I. So that way Excel can recognize that it is actually looking at the cell MI, which for the first case is M20. And then that's the case for all the cell reference that you need to do with solver function. And then the next 3 rows are basically the 3 criteria that we are setting up. So we are saying that we want to add a criteria, which is MI, cell MI, should be greater or equal to 0. And then FI should be less or equal to 10%. And then I should also be less or equal to 10%, which is essentially the criteria that we set there. And then the next line is to solve the solver. And then you need to put true here, which means that if you find a solution, then just keep the solution in the Excel and then go to the next row in our case here. Okay, so that is essentially what our solver is doing for us. So now you can see that I have put fake number here, but then let's run this macro here, and then let's see what's happening to this to the gap column. So now I'm in the solver macro, and then I click run, and then yeah, so you see Excel you need like 1 or 2 seconds, and then Excel basically have calculated everything. And then the nice thing is that for the majority of them, Excel is able to find a way to spend the full budget into and allocate it into both the base salary and the incentive. And they also satisfy the criteria of less than 10%. For this one person, however, we have allocated the max of 10% for both base salary and the incentive. However, we still cannot spend the full budget. So therefore, we have to like over 2,000 surplus with the budget, which is fine, right? Like when you have a budget that you need to spend, it's okay to have some surplus, but then it will be a problem if you have any kind of gap or overspending in your budget. So this solution is actually a very nice solution that we want, and this is the code that I have for it, and I will, as always, I will paste it into the description, and I hope that you find this video interesting and helpful. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you like it. If you have any question, please leave me a comment and I will talk to you very soon.